Welcome to the Leadership Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jono White. I'm the founder and principal consultant of Clarity. We are an Australian-based consultancy that works with leaders around the world, and our passion is to invest in people to become everything they're meant to be in order to fill the world with healthy organizations that people love to work for and customers line up to buy from. The goal of this podcast is to invest in you and your leadership. If you're just joining us for the first time, then feel free to check out consultclarity.org. That's our website, consultclarity.org. We have so many free resources on there. The most popular being our 7 Questions on Leadership series. We've had more than 1,500 leaders from around the world in all different sectors give their in-depth answers on leadership, what books they love, what they found most challenging, the most meaningful stories, how they structure their time through the day. That's free, so go and check it out. And we'd love to interview you about your leadership. I believe you have advice from your experience, your context, and your life so far that is important and can help other leaders. It's also a great way to give back. It's free to get involved, and you can do so by going to consultclarity.org/7-questions-interest, or just Google consultclarity.org 7 questions interest and fill out the form that pops up. We have a free resource for you on our website. It's called Leadership Survival Guide. It's a 57-page ebook. It has interviews with 10 world-class leaders, and you can go to consultclarity.org. It's right at the top, and get that today. We also have a daily email that we send out to over 15,000 leaders, and that email contains the highlights, our best content from our podcasts, our blog, my book, the books that we're loving that are out there about leadership. It's also the best way to get access to our masterclasses and workshops before anyone else. And there's also exclusive and limited special options just for subscribers. And you can subscribe by going to consultclarity.org/subscribe. Now, my gift to you is to work incredibly hard to provide the best leadership content I can to invest in you and your leadership. So if you're finding our content helpful, if you find this podcast helpful, then your gift to me could be this. If you do find it helpful, then write a review or rate our content and make sure you subscribe or follow. I can't emphasize enough how helpful that is. It really does help us to get the word out there so we can invest in more leaders to become everything they're meant to be. It also means a lot to me personally when people like you and people in our community share our content on social media. So if you do that, then please do look for me, Jono White, to tag me, and look to tag Clarity on whatever platform you're on. And our team, including me, I'm always looking to see when people have mentioned us so that I can engage with you. And also we look at sharing content. So if you write something about something we've done, there's also a good chance we'll share that with our followers. So if you could do that, that is a massive, massive help as we try to invest in as many leaders as we can around the world. Last of all, you can check out my book about how to deal with difficult people even if you hate conflict. It's called Step Up or Step Out. It's available on Amazon. You can just look up Step Up or Step Out Jono White, or you can go to store.consultclarity.org/book and check it out there. I have coached leader after leader after leader, and in more than 50% of the sessions, this topic comes up. How do I deal with this person? I'm finding it really difficult, and I just want to find a way that doesn't blow up to do just to have a difficult conversation, to lead them better. How do I do that? There's a 3-step process that I outline in this book that I believe can help you. Okay, let's get into today's episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. Today's guest is Gautam Ijoor, and Gautam is the president and CEO of Alpha Omega Integration. Welcome, Gautam.
Thank you, Juno.
For our listeners, Gautam, can you start off by giving us some context? Tell us about Alpha Omega Integration and a bit of the story, a bit of a window into what you do every day.
Sounds good. So, Juno, I'm the president of Alpha Omega Integration. We're a US federal IT systems integrator. We've been in business for, not for a very long time, having only started in September of 2016. In September of 2016, we were less than 1 million in revenue. Um, you know, uh, in August of 2021, we crossed 68.3 million in revenue run rate. And
Wow.
we've been fortunate to have faced some extraordinary growth, getting us into the Inc. 5000 for the last 4 years, at position 355 in 2018, position 143 in 2019, uh, 30 in 2020, and again in 2021. We've also received several other accolades like the Washington Technology Fast 50 and the Northern Virginia Chamber of Commerce Fantastic 50 every year for the past 4 years. Now, above all these, we've also been included in the Northern Virginia Best Places to Work for the past 10 or 11 years. We've been included in the Washington Washington Post best workplace the last 4 years, and a few other accolades. Now, talking a little bit about Alpha Omega, our focus is on high-end application engineering, low-code, no-code, open-source applications. The second thing that we focus on is cloud engineering, high-performance computing, and serverless architecture. Third, by means of an acquisition, we got a third capability. Our third focus area is robotics, process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and so on and so forth. Um,
Wow.
and a little bit more about Alpha Omega and myself. I spent the last 20 years in the merger and acquisition space, buying and selling companies. It's very similar to buying and selling houses, but unlike houses, you need to kind of grow a company before you can sell it. And that could take from a few years to several years. And a little more about myself. Have an MBA from the Darden School of Business, and I have two daughters. One who turns 2 years in Jan next year, and another who turns five in April of next year. So try to club in a little bit of background of myself and my company.
Yeah. That's no, that's wonderful. That's really helpful context. And well done. Some amazing accolades in the past few years for the company, and yeah, that's really incredible, Gotham. So tell us about your when you look at your story as a leader, and I'm really fascinated by your how you talked about buying and selling companies, a bit like houses, except you have to grow them before you sell them. Um, Tell us about some of the moments that might come to mind that really shaped you to become the leader you are today? Are there any moments in particular that you think back to when you saw another leader lead in a particular way, or you maybe you made a mistake and realized and it was a big learning for you? Any moments that come to mind that really shaped you, Gotham?
Yeah, I mean, actually, several of them, several of them, you know, maybe the most important on top of my mind, my very first venture in life was when I was 16. I opened an um, underage nightclub in Bangalore, India, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I guess my first my first learning experiences came there, and the one person that I learned from was my mother. Right, my mother was generally in India when it was even before it came into the world limelight as a developing economy. Generally, the my mom was a homemaker like most other women her age, and my dad was the breadwinner, right? But my leadership lessons I learned from my mom, right? And again, in my first venture, it was an outstanding success. As a 16-year-old, um, I was making a lot of money because I had identified a large number of underage kids in India were generally had a lot of time on their hands, and it we you generally, when you have they say the idle mind is devil's workshop. And so um, as much as an underage nightclub may not be very appealing to most parents, just getting 16-year-old kids, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, and a little older than that, um, involved in something that piques their interest, keeps them occupied, was definitely very helpful. It was also very financially fulfilling. As a 16-year-old, I was making a decent amount of money, and eventually, when I decided to share this venture with my parents, they one of the things that my mom said was how every business venture needs to kind of have some type of corporate responsibility or giving back to communities. It was then that I started, I guess, financing scholarships to the school that I was privileged to attend in Bangalore, India. And so that's always stayed on in my mind. Eventually, I came to the US to um, you know, eventually I came to the US to pursue my future studies, and it was maybe 10 years later that I started on my third venture, right, which was kind of getting a trans-esterification plant to convert Jatropha oil into biodiesel. I was in the US. I'd got some seed funding from family and friends, um, and just going through the regular rat race, I had realized it wasn't very fulfilling, and so I'd taken a sabbatical from work in the US and decided to open a trans-esterification plant. I created a prototype in my free time, then took the sabbatical, and I wanted to create this, install this plant so it can provide electricity to a couple of villages in India that didn't have electricity at that time.
Yes.
Now, the good side of it was, I was able to get electricity to two villages in remote India. 2007 was when it took off. It's still functional today. It's taken over by the government. I guess unfortunately, it didn't take off as a business venture. I got the seed funding. I was successful in getting the first round from a US investor. I could not get matching funds from uh, an Indian investor.
Yeah.
And so this big lesson I learned was it's not only important to have a great idea, it's also important to have a business plan on making sure your idea is financially viable. Um, a couple of ventures later, I
Yeah.
started Alpha Omega 5 years ago. And unlike the venture before that, in the same space, federal contracting, this time I decided to buy a company and start off rather than starting from a company from ground up. And I used all the lessons I learned from my previous ventures, and especially the fact that you have to do something that is different and provides value, right? and
Yes.
and so Alpha Omega was born. I told you about Alpha Omega and what it does in the IT space, which is probably like one of a million other companies around the globe, right? High-end
Yep.
application engineering, cloud engineering, and our artificial intelligence, robotics, process automation makes us one of a million companies. But what is different about Alpha Omega, which I've learned from the lessons in my previous ventures, is that um, we unlike a number of other companies in our space, right? We are only focused on the US government, right? One.
Yes. Yep.
Second, within the US government, we have only focused on state and DHS, and within state and DHS, we are focused on a couple of agencies. That focus makes us slightly different, but we still have competition. Now, within our customer base, we are focused on uh, being interlinked with the mission of the agency. For example, in the Department of State, one of the pieces of work, one of the there is an agency called Diplomatic Security, and as the name says, the mission of DS or Diplomatic Security is to provide, just to provide reciprocatory privileges to diplomats of other countries that are in the US. Now, within Alpha Omega, we have some critical um, critical retired government employees, who have helped explain the culture, the mission, and generally the direction diplomatic security should go with. So on every contract, we provide diplomatic security. We also, at no cost to the government, provide business analysts who understand what it takes to align IT systems with the mission of diplomatic security. That unique value, you don't really get with other companies in our space.
Yeah.
And the added value is the customer entanglement is so profound that the customers always try to get to us, not only on recompetes of the contracts we have, but also on every additional work in the IT space that comes out. So the end value that we provide, or the enterprise value of the company, just skyrockets when you provide this unique difference. So focus is one of the main things that I've learned. I've also learned that you need to have corporate responsibility, and therefore we've engaged in our corporate services internally within the company, several
Hmm.
giving back to communities initiatives. And stop me, Jono, if you feel that I'm rambling along, and I'm trying to give you a better picture of and answer your question
No, it's wonderful,
precisely.
Gotham. It's I guess I'm really interested in how you started Alpha Omega 5 years ago. Can you tell a bit of that story? What it was like to actually start? What for
Sure,
those who
sure.
may have never started an organization before? What did that look like? How did you do that?
Sure. And people say necessity is the mother of invention. So let me give you a little background. In 2009, I was generally working for a company called QSSI, who had become infamous for the healthcare.gov implementation, and then I think it's known worldwide. It didn't go very well, and then QSSI was brought in to help fix the challenges with Obamacare. All right. And so at
Sure.
that precise time, I, used a unique model to help satisfy that, and it gave me a better understanding of the challenges with federal contracting. Fast forward a few years, given my relation with customers, I started a company from ground up, and over 4 years, the company grew to 14 million, from 0 to 14 million in 4 years. I believe it was 33 proposals, 27 wins, 18 sole sources. Later, it was 14 million a year in revenue. But this time around, or my first time around when I started a company, I was literally wearing all the possible hats, and I was starting a company from um, ground up. So when I took a buyout from my first federal contracting company, I wanted to now start something which already had the past performance to help us succeed in the market space I was in. So I shopped around and looked for companies that that had older owners who were likely burnt out in the space, right? And so
Yes.
and that had some uh, commendable past performance. I had four targets, and I bought one of them, and I got into the space, and and then it was history. The most important thing that I've done to grow Alpha Omega was getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus.
Yes.
It was
Wow.
it's easier said than done, and as I made those changes, the company, the leadership team helped build the company from there.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. That you said the biggest thing you've done that's made the biggest difference is getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people off the bus. Wow.
Did
And
that answer your question, Juno?
yeah, that was a great answer, Gotham. I think one other thing I'd be really interested in knowing about is how you have, for those listening who may have never been involved in an acquisition, what's involved from your perspective when you're in your shoes previously, when you are selling a company or when you're buying a company, what's that like? What's the process like to do that, Gotham?
Juno, and I mean, the merger and acquisition space is made unnecessarily complicated around the world, right? It requires, so at the end of the day, buying and selling companies, I mean, they call mergers and acquisitions, and I think that is unnecessary. And even the term sounds complicated. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
dumbing it down, it's identifying a target, identifying money, and buying the target, right? So
true.
every company is available for a sale, right? Every company is available to sell. The question is at what cost? Now, once you scale it down to that level, I think it's relatively simple. Right. In my case, I came up with a definite criteria that could give me an edge on in terms of how much I would pay for it. I
Yes.
selected companies that had reservation in the federal government. They are called 8A companies, and then I selected the owner profile, which is who's likely to be burnt out and is looking to retire, right? And then I looked at the
Yeah.
mix of contracts that could help me continuously grow and provide synergy. Now, these three things, and then, general research using public databases will give you everything you need to know of the different companies that are privately held in any space. And the third thing is you just pick up the telephone, give the owner a call, and express your interest and a quick, short description about yourself and why you buying the company would be beneficial to the employees. The
Mm,
third introduction is very important. It secured me four dinners with the four companies that I was going to buy, and each of them, after you generally build a relationship, it's important to build a relationship with every seller. After you build a relationship, you want to ask them approximately what are they looking for in your company, right?
yes.
And everybody gives you an answer. What are you looking for in terms of a selling price? And everybody has an answer. And the question is, you can always get closer to the asking price again if it's not absurdly high, by restructuring your financial mechanism. So let me give you a good example. When I sat down with Grace, the owner of TMS, the company I acquired, came up with a price tag which I didn't feel was very exorbitant. I offered her 2 million more. right? And I said, I'll pay you 2 million more,
Wow.
almost 25%, and provided she takes a large part of the payment as an earnout, and then I restructured the earnout as a forgivable seller note. So in terms of bank debt, an earnout isn't, I mean, isn't considered equity, but a forgivable seller note is considered equity injection. So when I walked into the company I acquired, I didn't pay $1 from my pocket, and the entire the entire acquisition was debt based, based on a restructured debt. 80% was from the bank, 20% was a seller note, forgivable if certain targets weren't met. And so it was a win win situation all around.
Yeah, brilliant. I think you've unpacked that really well. And it's great to have such a simple perspective on how to acquire a company and they're wonderfully practical tips. How about COVID? How have you found COVID the past couple of years as a leader? And have there been any particularly successful strategies that you've implemented to manage such a difficult time?
That's a great question. Um, sometimes when I talk about COVID, right? Um, COVID and positive changes can never be used in the same sentence, and I say this in a more serious sense,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, my heart goes out to a number of businesses that have not been successful. Um, I joke with my team. With COVID, Alpha Omega was finally digitally transformed, and it took a virus to do that. On a more serious note, from a business perspective, working from home has shown us how to be more productive at a lower cost.
Sure.
um, you know, it's not always about the money. Over the last few months, last couple of years, um, to our disbelief, we have watched our daily lifestyle of camaraderie and friendship morph into a version which to some was unrecognizable. Well, the new norms of isolation and social distancing have temporarily threatened our ability to partake in simple pleasures such as meeting in the break room over lunch or coffee. We need to find a delicate balance between working from home and the lifestyle of in-person camaraderie. And now this is
Yes.
not from a business perspective, but from a personal perspective. The top three decisions that we made to combat COVID, right? First, our response to COVID was decisive. Ahead of the stay-at-home order, which was around March. In 12 hours, we moved to 100% remote and closed down our office. We secured confirmation from our clients to allow teleworking with zero disruptions. 97% of our people, we are in the services business, are working from home. 3%
Wow.
mission critical staff support production systems and are still on site.
Yeah,
Second, we
incredible.
moved, Second we moved access to office for all employees. We removed access to the office for all employees. No exceptions. When COVID hit, things had were really scary. Our employees' health was our number one concern. A
Mm,
few years ago after the acquisition, we had made an investment, and I'm so glad we did that to migrate all our applications to the cloud, and got in Office 365 for every employee. It was an added cost, but it skyrocketed our staff's ability to work from home.
yeah.
The final thing was the social distancing doesn't mean we had to be emotionally disconnected. our HR team jumped into action and implemented some employee engagement activities like training, movies, crazy hat day, pajama parties, virtual happy hours, you name it. We did it all, and everything over MS Teams, Jono, remotely. We recently had an employee host a music concert remotely as well.
Wow.
Uh, we started a running club and a book reading club, and these initiatives motivated and encouraged others to not only partake but also start this work life balance, not only with work and family life but also with personal enrichment, personal development, as well as community service. This engagement paid off, and I'm proud to say that our teams delivered with the same efficiency and spirit that they showed the customers when we were on site.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Gotham. I can hear why you've been able to be successful from investing in having 365 and having everyone able to work from home before COVID, and then really going fast to make sure that everyone felt safe, but then investing in culture even when you were working remotely as a team.
The no, no, thank you, Jono. There were again. See, I just told you. I mean, I was just mentioning, right? I'm not sure last year changes and welcome, right, could be used in the same sentence. And I'm talking about, I'm trying to narrowing down on
Yeah.
some welcome changes. Um, um, and although I say that in a lighter sense, um, not all changes were unwelcome last year. There were three changes that had a profound effect on Alpha Omega, right? Um, since that remote work was thrust on us and coming into the office was a distant reality, we had to think about new ways of engagement. Um, which created opportunities. Most profound among them was implementing an operating system called the entrepreneurial operating system. Now, at the base, it asks for a clearly defined function, and I mean, it asks for clearly defined function and roles that people are accountable for in your organization. It highlighted several deficiencies with how, when you build a plane while flying it, as in the case of Alpha Omega, you tend to assign overlapping accountability. By
Yes.
clearly defining an accountability chart, we kind of gain mileage, traction, and clarity, and that really surged performance. So one of the other
Yeah.
things that the second thing we did was we clarified Alpha Omega's core values. Um, so I mentioned building the plane while flying it, right? Now this sometimes leads to you coming up with core values that you may outgrow as your organization evolves. Now, we rethought our core values as a team and then, kind of abbreviated it by the letters in the word heart, where H stands for harmony, E for engagement, A for accountability, resourcefulness, and tenacity. Now,
Hmm.
by implementing this, we we propelled Alpha Omega's new core values by creating it from ground up. It provided a method of retaining, promoting, and hiring people who meet these values. Final
Yes. Yeah, that's
change,
great.
yeah, the final change we made is examining a company's fundamentals. Our core had far-reaching impacts on the business. My visionary traits kicked in, and although Alpha Omega was created with a passion to serve our nation by providing unparalleled value in government contracting, there was so much more we could do to live up to our tagline. Right, our tagline is to create new possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thus, we started a journey to becoming mission focused. We pivoted and no longer pursue projects because it implements some cool state of the art technology for technology's sake. We use technology as an enabler of our customers mission, and we invest in a workforce often at no cost to the customer, that has a stupendous understanding of the customer's vision. This
Wow.
makes our customers inevitably more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant, Gotham. I think entrepreneurs operating system. That's right, entrepreneurial operating system (EOS).
Yes, yes.
Yeah, EOS is fantastic, and it's great to hear. It's been such a breakthrough for you and really helped you and the team get through. It's one of the things that's helped you get through COVID. It sounds like.
Thank you. Thank you, Judah.
Okay, well, let's do Leadership Express. This is just some fast questions. So, Gotham, just give me
Sure.
the first answer that comes to your mind, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, number one, what book have you gifted the most to other people?
The Jim Collins, Good to Great, Built to Last, and Built to Succeed.
Yes, yeah, and I don't mind you giving three there because they're all amazing.
I
Excellent.
mean, he's a
Okay,
great author. He's a great author.
he is. They're in my top five. Good to great. It's definitely in my top five. Question two, any great podcast you listen to or other sources you read, watch, or listen to?
Brené Brown, Dare to Lead, and she basically, she her TED Talks are some of the best podcasts.
Yeah, I agree. Question three, what's a recent leadership lesson you've learned for the first time or been reminded of recently?
Um, what I'm most excited about implementing, continuously building a company that unquestionably is focused on making our customers successful.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, next question. What's a time management or productivity tip you'd give or a tool or resource you use?
I mean, there are five things I absolutely try to accomplish every day.
Yep,
uh, 10 minutes of meditation, 30 minutes of reflection, 1 hour with the kids,
yep,
right? I have
yep.
young ones, 2 and 4 years old. I know you asked for a quick answer. The fourth thing is 30 minutes with your spouse.
Hmm.
Absolutely important. And 30 minutes doing the dishes in your house, however successful you are.
Yeah, wonderful. I really like that. What is and this might be similar answer, what's a tip around work life balance you'd give to other leaders?
The last three pieces, I mean, when you ask me for the most important thing for productivity,
Hmm.
and when focus, the first two things was meditation and reflection for 30 minutes. The
Yep.
next three things are the most important for you to be productive, and also for work life balance. You spend 1 hour with your kids, extremely refreshing. They
Hmm.
are your legacy. You have to invest in them, right? From a work
Wonderful.
life balance, very important. The second two is 30 minutes of time with your spouse and
Hmm.
30 minutes doing the dishes. I'm telling you, it has a profound effect on work life balance, and also with keeping you productive,
Yeah.
because if that balance is gone and you have tensions at home, you can't be productive. The last thing I want to say is spend an hour working out. um, it's just so important to
Yes.
keep your mind productive and effective.
Yeah, that's great advice. And for me, recently, that's been cycling. I've been really enjoying cycling. Previously, it's been running. I just, there's something about getting the heart rate up for half an hour or more that truly is a game changer for productivity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've done a mix of things. I have a personal trainer. I do weights 2 days a week. I play in a soccer league that takes up a large part of one day. I play golf, but I don't use a golf cart. I walk.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I play racquetball. So between all five of them, I get my intake of working out.
Yeah, wonderful, Gotham. Next question. What's a big struggle or problem that you see leaders facing today?
99, I mean, 99% of leaders are looking, uh, I mean, 99% of leaders don't understand the why behind your business is the most important to be successful.
Yeah,
So
that's a
I
good
feel that the
answer.
biggest challenge is the I mean the Gen X's, Gen Y's, Gen Z's, millennials, whatever you call them, they're asking to understand the why behind your business.
Yeah, I agree. And for anyone out there, go and read Simon Sinek. Start with Why. It's a great book
Yep,
around.
yep, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, a movie or TV show that really impacted you.
Uh, most people would not agree with my. I've taken the best leadership lessons from, from Peaky Blinders. So
Yeah,
there is this Irish mob. There is a series about an Irish mob. It's called Peaky Blinders,
yeah, yeah.
and
I know it. I've seen it. It's fantastic.
I'm telling you, yeah, I mean, it's related to the mob, and the mob wasn't really legal, so people might question that. But from a leadership perspective, Shelby, there's so much you can learn from Shelby that are important in today's business world.
Love it. That's so good. Okay, a quote that you're particularly fond of for life or leadership.
What I've written in my company. I'm sorry, what I've written in. On the board in my on the wall in my office is growth is the only evidence of life. It was by John Henry Newman.
Growth is the only evidence of life. I like that. Okay, what's a tip for finding and keeping great talent?
um Focusing on a culture, an inclusive culture, most important. Focusing on an inclusive culture
Yep.
really helps you identifying the right people and retaining them.
Yeah, focusing on it and inclusive culture. I like that. And the last question, if you could only give one piece of leadership advice to a young leader, what would you say?
Uh, you know, if there is one piece of advice, um, you know, um, I would, to any young leader, it's not about finding a great idea. It's finding a different idea, right? And and um, and creating a business plan around that idea, and using a bullet strategy. When I say bullet strategy, what I'm saying is testing your business plan before you can go all out
Mm.
and spend 3 to 5 months implementing that idea full scale. Test out your business plan before you implement it full scale.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Well, that was a lot of fun. And where can people find you if they want to contact you on social media, or is there anywhere people can find you, Gotham?
Oh, absolutely. My name is spelled as G as in George, A as in Apple, U as in umbrella, T as in Tom, A as in Apple, M as in Mark. The last name is Ijoor. I'm very active on LinkedIn, social media, and the website of my company is www.alphaomegaintegration.com.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to thank our listeners for tuning in. This has been so much fun with Gotham. There's been just a lot of gold, particularly not only in the stories we heard earlier around acquisition or at buying and selling, as Gotham simplified it. And there's just been so much gold in this. And don't forget, listeners, that you can also check out our other podcasts, the John O'White Leadership Podcast, where I give you content about leadership and leadership question of the day, a different question every day to help you grow as a leader. But I really want to finish by just saying a massive thank you to Gautam Ijoor. Gautam, it's been just so much fun spending time together and hearing your stories. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed it and found it really it's getting my mind going, and I'm going to be thinking about a lot of the things you said. Some great answers there at the end too. So thank you for being so generous and coming on.
Thank you, Juno, for giving me the opportunity, and wish you the very best.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast as much as I did. If you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to check out consultclarity.org. That's our website, consultclarity.org. We have so many free resources on there, including our 7 Questions on Leadership series. We've had more than 1,500 leaders from all over the world in all different roles, in different industries, answer these 7 questions on leadership, and leaders give these in-depth answers around how they spend their time, a book that's been significant for them. It's just a gold mine. It's completely free to access, so go to consultclarity.org and look for that. We'd also love to interview you about your leadership. I believe your experience, your life, your context means that you have advice on leadership that other leaders can learn from. Yes, you, if you're going, not me. Well, no, I really believe you would have something to add. So if you're looking for a way to give back, it's completely free to get involved. And we would love to interview you through the 7 Questions on Leadership. You just go to consultclarity.org/7-questions-interest, or Google consultclarity.org 7 questions interest and fill out the form and get involved. We have a free resource on our website called the Leadership Survival Guide. It's a 57-page ebook, 10 world-class leaders giving their thoughts on leadership, and that's completely free. It's available on our homepage, consultclarity.org, right at the top, so make sure you go and get that and download it today. And we have a free daily email that you can subscribe to. We send this out to over 15,000 leaders from around the world. And it contains the highlights of content from our podcasts, our blogs, our books we're reading. It's got the best content, and it gives you exclusive, limited, early access to our masterclasses, workshops, new products, special offers. It's all for our subscribers. You can go to consultclarity.org/subscribe and join 15,000 other leaders. And my gift to you is to work really hard, particularly through the Leadership Conversations podcast. I have been blown away by the quality of the leaders, and I'm learning as much as anyone in doing these interviews. So I'm having a great time. And my gift to you is to keep lining up the best leaders I can to invest in your leadership. Your gift to me, if you're finding this helpful, there is something that you could do that would help us out massively. And that is to write a review and to leave a rating for our podcast or wherever you're watching or listening to this. I can't tell you how much that helps us out. Also, subscribe or follow. It really does make a difference in helping us to help more leaders become everything they're meant to be. Another thing that means a lot to me personally is when I see our community share our content. So if you do share this or any other piece of content on social media, then thank you, and please do that. And look for me, Jono White, or Clarity, and tag us in your post. Our team is always looking for posts to engage with from our community, and there's also a chance that we'll share your content to go beyond and share it with our followers. Last of all, you can check out my book. It's called Step Up or Step Out: How to Deal with Difficult People Even If You Hate Conflict. I wrote this book because 50% of the coaching sessions I have with leaders, this topic comes up again and again and again. And it's this idea of, how do I have this difficult conversation? How do I lead this person better when I'm finding them difficult? Or in some cases, you look and you say, I think I might be leading a difficult person. They're just quite difficult to lead, or I'm finding them quite difficult to lead. So there's a 3-step process that I unpack in Step Up or Step Out. And the amazing thing, and I've literally done this myself, and I've heard it anecdotally from other leaders as I've coached them, is that if you follow this process, you will see that person step up and change their behavior or make a decision, which is to step out some of the time. 95% of the time, people will step up or step out in just 4 weeks. And I stand by that. It's you have to read the book to understand, but I really do believe in it, and I've experienced it firsthand. It works. So you can go to Amazon, look up Step Up or Step Out Jono White, or store.consultclarity.org/book. Well, thank you so much for listening. We're going to be back with a new episode next time of the Leadership Conversations podcast. And I hope today has helped you to take another step towards becoming the leader you're meant to be. See you next time.